Welcome to the Fenix News Report. Tonight, has Trump's brain turned into soup? And if so, is it lobster bisque? Plus, Georgia's on our mind because they're slapping down the red team, and Ted Cruz gets friendly with the mops in the senatorial supply closet. We'll start with Donald Trump's brain. Is there anything left in there? Let's look at the evidence. First of all, he's proposed sicking the military on Democrats.
I think the bigger problem is the enemy from within, people from within. We have some very bad people. We have some sick people, radical left lunatics. And I think they're and it should be very easily handled by, if necessary, by National Guard, or if really necessary, by the military.
So I guess we're going from agree to disagree to I agree you should be court-martialed for disagreeing with me. Sounds fascist, but not necessarily a sign of dementia.
Oh, by the way, it's worth noting that General Mark Milley told Bob Woodward that he thinks Trump is a, quote, fascist to the core. Bold words from a man who was part of Trump's inner circle and got the unfiltered catch-up-on-the-wall experience.
Donald Trump may not commit to much, like, for example, his ex-wives, but it sounds like he's pretty committed to fascism. But is he a demented fascist? Okay, what about this? At a town hall, Donald Trump, who was supposed to be answering questions, just gave up and started awkwardly dancing for 40 minutes.
Go and vote. Let me hear that music, please.
Everyone, let's thank President
loud,
Trump.
Nice and loud. So play YMCA. Go ahead. Let's go. Nice and loud.
Here we go, everybody.
Okay, that's strong evidence of my brain is liquefied goo syndrome happening right there. This was so weird. I gotta say, Trump channels all the charm of a frat boy inviting you up to his room to listen to some songs that really mean something to him. And just like that frat boy, you don't want to be in the same room as Trump when that happens.
But there's more. This week, he called himself the father of IVF at a town hall for women in Georgia.
You don't hear that every day.
I'm the father of IVF.
So does that mean you sent IVF off to boarding school when it was 8? Like, what's happening here?
And then look at what happens when he tries to answer a real question from a voter about January 6th.
I want to give you the opportunity to try to win back my vote. What happened during January 6th, you waited so long to take action while your supporters were attacking the Capitol.
Some of those people went down to the Capitol. I said peacefully and patriotically, nothing done wrong. And action was taken, strong action. Ashley Babbitt was killed. Nobody was killed. There were no guns down there. We didn't have guns. The others had guns, but we didn't have guns. And when I say we, these are people that walked down. This was a tiny percentage of the overall, but that was a day of love from the standpoint of the millions. It's like hundreds of thousands. It could have been the largest group I've ever spoken before. They asked me to speak. I went and I spoke. If you look at the Democrats, what they say, you look at Maxine Waters and you look at Hillary Clinton and you look at what they say, I said, everything's got to be peaceful and patriotic. And we'll see how it all works out. But I think that we're right now in another election. All I want is honest elections. I'm willing to take any chance. I want honest elections.
Yeah, that didn't make any sense at all. And it's starting to feel real extra dementia-y up in here.
And then there's the fact that he's outsourced his get out the vote operation to Elon Musk. Which voters is he trying to reach there? Cybertruck owning divorced dads so deep into child support debt that they're living in the woods? Of all the people to put in charge of getting people to vote, Elon Musk! Every time that guy opens his mouth, a stock price goes down. He announced robo-taxis, boom, Tesla stock dived 7% because of course it did. He's wiped out Twitter's value by 80%, and his fancy new robots are remotely controlled by humans.
Elon Musk isn't a genius. He's more like an ex-boyfriend who's terrible at sex. And that's why all the women who date him leave, and the lucky ones don't have babies by the end.
And what about this? Kamala Harris has released her medical records, but Trump is refusing to. But in a Phoenix News exclusive, we have actually obtained a leaked copy of Trump's medical records that have been signed off by Dr. Ronnie Jackson. What kinds of things are hiding in that medical report? Is it the cavernous, echoing space between Trump's two ears populated only by conspiracy theories and cravings for Big Macs?
But okay, maybe we should just go to the source and ask Trump himself. See what he has to say about his alleged dementia.
He's cognitively impaired. He's getting old. He's getting old. He mispronounced a word like the name of the gang, if I did. No, I think I got it perfectly, didn't I? But if they see any, they watch for weeks and weeks. For weeks and weeks, I'm up here ranting and raving. Last night, 100,000 people, flawless, ranting and raving. I'm ranting and raving. Not a mistake. And then I'll be at a little thing and I'll say something a little bit like I'll say, duh. They'll say, he's cognitively impaired. No, I'll let you know when I will be. I will be someday. We all will be someday, but I'll be the first to let you know.
And yeah, that definitely helped make the case, Gramps. Do you maybe want to go lie down, watch some Blue Bloods? Yeah.
So all of this insane behavior begs the question, is Donald Trump's brain even functional enough to be president? For more, we go to our chief neurological decline correspondent, Dr. Jen Haston. Jen, in your professional opinion, does the former president have dementia?
Great question. Even though I have lots of expertise, I can't, of course, diagnose him without an exam. But it does appear that the part of his brain that controls his motor functions appears to have totally gone to shit, which is why he's dancing so weird.
Okay, got it.
Also, the amygdala is the part of the brain that experiences fear. And based on my years of experience, I think his amygdala has actually eaten the rest of his brain with some fava beans and a nice Chianti.
So you're saying part of his brain is a cannibal?
Again, I can't say for sure without an MRI, but that would explain why he can't stop talking about Hannibal Lecter.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And when the amygdala eats the rest of the brain, it will, to use a layman's term, it will shit out the rest of the brain into a pudding-like substance. And that substance probably shouldn't be allowed to operate a forklift or given any sort of nuclear codes.
Uh-huh. And is there a clinical name for this phenomenon?
Of course. It's pudding shit brainiopathy.
Very official. Okay, thanks for being with us, Dr. Jen.
Now, while Trump was out making an excellent case for a dementia diagnosis, Kamala Harris went on Fox News to get grilled by Bret Baier. And of course, she totally nailed it.
Bret, I'm sorry, and with all due respect, that clip was not what he has been saying about the enemy within that he has repeated when he's speaking about the American people. That's not what you just showed.
Well, he was asked about that specific...
No, that's not what you just showed. In all fairness and respect to you.
That was the question that we asked him.
You didn't show that, and here's the bottom line. He has repeated it many times, and you and I both know that.
Now, there are a lot of people out there saying things like, oh, she should be doing more rallies. She should have an economic plan specifically targeted to black men between the ages of 23 and 26. She should do more of this. She should do more of that. Blah. And to those people, I say this.
Here we go, everybody.
Get off Kamala's ass. She's doing just fine.
Georgia is on our minds this week as the state repeatedly bitch-slapped the Trump team's effort to inject chaos into the election.
So can we count all the ballots by hand blindfolded and just say who we think they voted for?
No.
Okay, well, if we don't like who they voted for, can we just not certify those results?
Hell no.
Wow, kind of feels like you're being a little bit of a hard ass there. Colin Allred debated Ted Cruz this week, so if you're wondering what that sad pile of trash is, it's what's left of Ted Cruz's campaign.
But Senator Cruz just called himself pro-life. You're not. You're not pro-life. It's not pro-life to deny women care so long that they can't have children anymore. It's not pro-life to force a victim of rape to carry their rapist's baby. It's not pro-life that our maternal mortality rate has skyrocketed up by 56%. That's not pro-life, Senator. So to every Texas woman at home and to every Texas family watching this, understand that when Ted Cruz says he's pro-life, he doesn't mean yours.
I don't have a joke here. I just want to say that that's the best damn line I've heard on this issue from anyone. Pro-life does not refer to women's lives.
Then Colin Allred gave us the lowdown on what Ted Cruz was up to on January 6th.
You can't be for the mob on January 6th and for the officers. You can't. And it's not funny, because you're a threat to democracy. Y'all at home might remember where you were on January 6th, what you were doing. I know where I was, and I know where he was. I remember when they told us to reach under our seats for these gas masks. I didn't know we had, because they had deployed tear gas in the rotunda. And I took off my suit jacket, and I was prepared to defend the House floor from the mob. At the same time, after he'd gone around the country lying about the election, after he'd been the architect of the attempt to overthrow that election, when that mob came, Senator Cruz was hiding in a supply closet. And that's okay. I don't want him to get hurt by the mob. I really don't. This election is his accountability.
If those mop buckets could talk, they'd probably also say fuck Ted Cruz. Texans, go vote this pendejo out. J.D. Vance has had lots of opportunities to say that Donald Trump lost the 2020 election, but he's always found a way to dodge. There's the classic, I believe I've already answered that. Often he'll do a more formal, I'm focused on the future. Sometimes he'll do a silly one like, did big technology companies censor the Hunter Biden laptop story? I think that's the real question. It's like Fight Club. The first rule of being Trump's VP is don't talk about that thing he did. They say Trump lost, you bring up the Democrats. They say Trump sucks at golf, you blame Kamala Harris. They say anything about riots on January 6th, you drop trow and squeeze out a Cleveland steamer if you must.
Are schools sending kids off to get trans surgery?
Just recently, there were concerns about, the school boards telling kids, look, if you want to have transgender operations, just don't tell your parents.
Do you really think schools have time for this? Don't they have enough trouble telling your kids to wash their hands and not put poop on the walls? Teachers barely have enough glue sticks. Do you think they have time to frog march your precious angel off to a surgeon to get their bits rearranged? Teachers don't have time to care about your kids' gender. They're too busy thinking about which wine to drink after spending the day with your noisy-ass kids.
A weather app featured forecasts like 13,000 mile per hour winds in Chicago and 832-degree temperatures in Brazil. Dismissed as a glitch, it turns out the app was just forecasting for 2 years from now.
Certain models of robot vacuums have started swearing a hot streak. At first, they said it was a glitch, but later they admitted that the robo-vacuums had apparently been trained solely on Trump speeches.
After nearly a year, America is getting more pandas! And just look at them! The two bears named Bao Ling and Xing Bao arrived just this week and have already been summoned for a Senate hearing.
A giant, bloated, awkward, bulbous, fat orange pumpkin won a majority of the votes in California. Thankfully, it wasn't the giant, bloated, awkward, bulbous, fat orange pumpkin that you're thinking of. It was this epic 2,500-pound Gordo taking first place in an annual pumpkin weighing contest. Congratulations, and may this be the last big orange thing that wins an election this year. We are all still feeling drained from a story that has dominated the news cycle for the past week. Cheating scandal at the World Conquer Championship. And if you've never heard of Conkers, it involves trying to smash your opponent's chestnut with a chestnut of your own, which is an explanation so British, it's already typing school shooting jokes in the comments section.
The specter of fraud hung heavy over the competition, where the winner of the men's final was found to have nuts of steel in his pants. Maybe you're thinking, oh, that old chestnut, but the attending judges say there's no way he could have cheated. They watched the competitor's nuts too closely for that. Why then did the loser's nut explode all over the place when the winner's nut touched his own? The embarrassed loser claimed that this sort of thing has never happened to him before, and he's swung his nuts at hundreds of other guys' nuts ever since he was young. An unsatisfying conclusion, to say the least.
That wraps up this week's episode. If you're in a place where early voting has started, go get it done. If you're in Texas, you can start voting Ted Cruz out on Monday. Love you. Bye.
It is good to see Ted Cruz get his ass handed to him. I don't normally like to think about Ted Cruz's ass, but in the context of handing it to him...
Sure.
Listen, I don't really talk to Colin Allred much anymore. We haven't really, since college.
Since you were on the football team together.
Yeah, and never at all. But Colin, buddy, we're proud of you.
You did a good job.
Proud, man.
You did a really good job.
You done Texas good.
Fuck Ted Cruz.
Fuck Ted Cruz. Fuck Ted Cruz. Fuck Ted Cruz. Fuck Ted Cruz. Fuck Ted Cruz. Fuck Ted Cruz. Fuck Ted Cruz. Fuck Ted Cruz. He sucks. Cruz, he really sucks.
He is a shitty
Cruz, he really sucks. I hate Ted
Cruz. Fuck
And
Ted
he
Cruz.
sucks.
Fuck Ted Cruz.
Fuck Ted Cruz.